Coverage of the Suzuki Series and the Cemetery Circuit Boxing Day racing is proudly brought to you by Suzuki. A heat, haze and hot sticky conditions greeted spectators and competitors alike as the running of the Cemetery Circuit Boxing Day races got underway in Wanganui. Vastly different conditions to those on Christmas Day, where constant rain made conditions hard for the army of volunteers that turned these suburban streets into a formidable racetrack that you now see. The third and final round of the 2018 Suzuki Series, the best riders from New Zealand and overseas were here. A consistent part of the motorcycle scene in New Zealand over the last few years has been internationally renowned DJ and team principal of his Carl Cox Motorsport team, Mr. Carl Cox. A dyed-in-the-wool petrol head, the big man likes all forms of motorsport, but here in New Zealand, it's the two-wheeled action that really turns his crank.
I love coming here this time of year, you know, especially with the, now we have the Tri-Series. For me to be here and to support that as well, it's been awesome. And then I was here last year, for the first time. And I just enjoyed the fact that there's so much camaraderie here. The guys want to race and the girls, of course. It's just brilliant. You get all different types of classes of motorbike. And, of course, the little 150 Suzukis and now the little young tuckers going around. It's just excellent. I couldn't think of a better holiday, really, for me.
And the Empire's grown a little bit since last year.
It certainly has, isn't it? Even for myself, thinking, hang on about a minute, my old pockets are not getting so deep anymore, but it has grown, yeah, because I think more than anything, I think people like the camaraderie of what I'm about, what we do. I'm trying to, put a little bit of change into guys that are even just having a go to the ones that are up there and inspire each other, and everyone works together really well in the pits here. It's fantastic to see it happen. I'm kind of glad to be able to, at least from my point of view, be able to put a little bit of change into to seeing something like that happen.
Come time for the final Fastway Couriers Super Motard race, champion-elect Duncan Hart only had to finish to claim the title. In the early going, it was the 119 of Richie Dibbon that jetted away, with Hart in second place. But then this at the Suzuki Crossing. Disaster for Duncan Hart and Jesse Josiah. A nasty crash that thankfully looked worse than it was, with both riders eventually walking away. On the restart, there were quite a few gaps on the field, and as they headed down into turn one for the first time, it was again Dibbon, where he had been before the red flag came out, in the front of the field. Dibbon stretched his lead on his new Dibbon-Schwartz RM450 Suzuki, but there was an interesting battle developing behind him. With no Hart or Josiah, the focus now switched to second and third. 999 Andrew Rudd and number 175 Ben Stafford. The battle for second and third in the series points chase was interesting as well. Back inside the top 10, the man who could move into second place following Josiah Jr.'s crash, Wellington's Will Young on a Honda, and Russell Josiah dropping back after his crash in race number 1. As the checkered flag came out, in the front was Richie Dibbon. He completed the double. In second place, Ben Stafford and Andrew Rudd in third. And second overall for the season, with Will Young, who came home in 11th place. So overall, it is Duncan Hart claiming another title here in the Super Motards, from Andrew Rudd and Will Young locked together on 100 points, and Russell Josiah in 4th place. The 2018-19 season would see the second year of the very popular Suzuki Gixxer Cup Series. Identical GSXR 150 Suzukis in the hands of the up-and-comers, both male and female. With last season's champs, Thomas Newton, now ineligible to compete under the class rules, the focus shifted to the current crop of tomorrow's stars. So getting set for a start on the first race of two over the Wanganui Cemetery Circuit race day here, and this is the Gixxer Cup And interesting in the points because Zach Fuller and Jesse Stroud together on 90 points. So a draw at the moment. Number 4 it is Zach Fuller into the front. Number 20 is Shane Miller sitting in second place. There is Jesse Stroud, number 15. Yes, he is the second eldest son of 9 times New Zealand Superbike champion Andrew Stroud. Over the top they come. There is Jesse Stroud, number 15, as they head down to complete the first lap. Oh, and there's a problem coming over the Pirelli bridge. So the yellow flags come out. You see the rider gets up straight away, so he's okay. So we'll keep an eye on that because we've been plagued by red flags here at Wanganui this weekend, and out it comes again. So this one will have to be restarted as well. So you can see that the rider is okay. It's the bike that is the problem. A great jump off the line saw Telfrey's Zach Fuller lead going into the problematic turn 1, with any one of the 5 behind him capable of winning the race. With Fuller in the front, the points tie could be broken here. The yellow flags would come out again, this time for Shane Miller, who got it wrong in turn number 2. It is from the second angle. Just getting tangled up in the little 150, but the good news was that he was okay. And once again, the race is red flagged. And that means that the results are declared, and it is Zach Fuller that takes race number 1, or the restart of the first race number 1. This is race number 2 for the Gixxers. So Fuller now leading on points as they get away 10 of the most evenly matched riders you can ever see. Shane Miller, number 20, recovered from that first race crash, sits up in second place, but it's Fuller in the lead. And as they go round into turn number 2, Zach Fuller just starting to get away. Miller through in second place. Then we go back to Hunter Stoneman Boyle by the look of it on the 37. 15 is Jesse Stroud, now back in second place on the points. That's him sitting in fourth place, trying to pick up the draft from Hunter Stoneman Boyle as they head over the Suzuki crossing once again. So it is Zach Fuller starting to pull away here to a lead that he wouldn't relinquish. And as he came down to lap Sarah Humphrey, he knew that victory in race number 2 was his. In second place, it was Shane Miller, and in third place, it was Jesse Stroud. Jesse Stroud fast all the way through the race, taking a new lap record, but Zach Fuller taking the points and the standalone title here at the Cemetery Circuit. So overall points of the series so far will continue with the NZSBK. See Zach Fuller in first place from Jesse Stroud, Shane Miller and Cameron Goldfinch. In a bit of a spiteful contest, it was the English rookies Gary Bryan and Phil Hyde who eventually came out on top in race 1 from the Anglo-Kiwi pairing of Robbie Shorter and John Holden. Carl Cox Motorsport, Barry Smith and Tracy Bryan in third place. The pair shooting down the inside for the win. So Gary Bryan and Phil Hyde takes the win in race number 1. The class battles had already been decided between letter H, John Holden in Formula 1 and number 73, Barry Smith in Formula 2. The overall win for the day was still up for grabs, with the Leicestershire pairing of Gary Bryan and Phil Hyde looking good from the start. The English player had previously stated that their Baker 600 would love the streets of Wanganui, and it proved true. They survived this near miss at Robert Holden with Jared and Kelly Winter and extended their lead. In third place now, number 73, Barry Smith and Tracy Bryan, while just ahead of them, Holden and Shorter in second. First-time visitors to Wanganui they may have been, but Gary Bryan and Phil Hyde scooped the pool here in the River City, taking race 1 and 2 in the sidecars to wrap up the overall for the day.
Yeah, it was over the moon with that. We got a better start, and the plan was always to try and get it so we weren't dicing and slowing each other down. And yeah, we got a couple of laps, got clear a little bit, and then you can pick your back markers then as you want it. Yeah, worked a treat.
We struggled a bit at Taupo with the bike, and we struggled a tiny bit at Manfield, not as much, but we always said that the bike was built for this sort of thing, and obviously it takes a while to get used to the circuit, and we've not really had the time to get used to the circuit, but we followed John, followed Barry a couple of times, and it's just all come together. Gary's been on it all day, just getting better and better and faster, and it's just, yeah, it all culminated in a couple of wins. So yeah, we're happy with that.
2014 Formula One Suzuki Series champion Horse Sega wasn't here at last year's race, and this is the reason why. His brand new son Benjamin here with mum Tamara. Horse was back for another Kiwi summer, and more importantly, the racing.
5 or 6 guys who can win, and all depends on the start, and doesn't look like I am one of them. This is, but I'm enjoying the time here in New Zealand. It's really good to see all the people back again, and yeah, I have to talk to my wife. Maybe if we struggle a lot, we have to come back again. we can't do our last race in New Zealand like with a poor performance.
So this is the second race of the Suzuki sponsored Formula One. Number 11, Tony Rees, 7-time winner of the Robert Holden Memorial. Sitting alongside him, number 37, there he is. This is Jay Lawrence on the Carl Cox Motorsport Suzuki. Also up on the front row, the man that won race number 1, and that tied the points with himself and Shane Richardson, and that is Scott Moir, and it looks like Moir's got a pretty good start. You're on board here with Shane Richardson. He's got a problem because he started off the front row, but he's drifted right to the back of the field. I just wonder if this is a reoccurrence of the shifter problems he had in the first race. Race leader, though, is number 34, Dan Metham. Spent all of the New Zealand off-season up in the Northern Hemisphere, racing up on the roads of Ireland and Great Britain until he broke his leg. So you're riding on board here with Dan Metham, heading up into Robert Holden for the first time. Right in behind him, in fact, passing him now is the 11 of Tony Rees, and Jay Lawrence getting a little bit closer as well, and right in the hunt too. The man that is tied now on points in the Formula One Championship. This is the third and final round of the Suzuki Series, and that is Taupo's Scott Moir. So Rees, the veteran, in the front. 7 times he's won the Robert Holden Memorial. He's a multiple New Zealand national champion in all sorts of different classes. Sat out last year through injury, won the series in 2016. And here he is in the front again, now into his 50s. Tony Rees out of Wakatani in the lead. In second place, Daniel Metham just looking left, looking right, trying to find a chink in the armour of Rees. He'll go a long way to find that. Rees has been around for a long, long time. He knows all the tricks in the book. Under the Emmett's pedestrian bridge they go. You're riding on board here with Scott Moir, now currently sitting in 4th place. Just up ahead of him, it is Jay Lawrence. Tony Rees continues to lead it, Metham in second. Also joining the party by the look of it, Horse Sega just tagging onto the back of the bunch. You're riding on board here with Jay Lawrence, currently sitting in 3rd. They head up over the Pirelli overbridge once again to put another lap in the book. Formula One brought to you by Suzuki. Now, we haven't seen too much of Shane Richardson. I think he might have pulled out. I think he's got a problem with that shifter on the Barnes-Jenkins Kawasaki New Zealand ZX10, and that means that the man you're watching from the back of Jay Lawrence's bike, the number 8, Scott Moir, if he can finish where he is, he will clinch back-to-back series titles in the Suzuki Series. He is the man in 4th place at the moment. You're on board here with Moir. Through the S's they go, heading up into the Robert Holden corner once again, the trade zone Robert Holden. And there is Shane Richardson. So I spoke a little bit too soon, but he's decided to pull the pin. So he goes back into the pits and he kisses goodbye to the Formula One title here at Wanganui. This man, though, well, the sun is shining down on Taupo Scott Moir. He won race number 1. Can he pick up a podium spot here in race number 2? If he stays where he is, he will win the Suzuki Series. But he's a racer's racer. He'll want to get up in front of Jay Lawrence and in front of Dan Metham. There is Lawrence working his way through turn number 2, and that is the Mars Pet Care turn. Out onto the B&T Fuchs Lubricant Straight they come now. Jay Lawrence has raced in the Classic TT up on the Isle of Man in the New Zealand off-season on a very fast Suzuki. It's being very fast. You're right here with Peter Hickman on the Carl Cox Motorsport BMW. He's got a little bit of work to do, has Mr. Hickman. Back down the field a little bit now, about 5th place at the moment. Just up ahead of him, it's Horse Sega, a past champion of the Suzuki Series. Never has won the Robert Holden Memorial, but with the lap times these guys are doing, he will be guaranteed a start in it. Tony Rees, though, 7 times the winner of the Robert Holden Memorial. On board with Hickman as he dives down the inside into turn number 1, the Bridgestone Whites Power Sports right-hander. We look into the face of Peter Hickman as he heads down the B&T Fuchs Lubricant Straight. Taupo Key adjacent to the famous river here, and the bunch starting to close up. There is Jay Lawrence on the Carl Cox Suzuki. Right in behind him, it's another Suzuki in the form of Scott Moyer, and then you just got a glimpse there of the P of Peter Hickman, and it's a bit of an international battle because he's battling it out with Horst Sager on the Metzler Schott Yamaha. Taking the pictures from Jay Lawrence as they work their way through the trade zone turn down into the hooker transport curves now to complete another lap. Race number 2 of Formula One brought to you by Suzuki. And this man that we're riding on board with here looks like he's going to seal the deal. He is the defending champion in the F1 class here in the Suzuki Series, and with the demise of Shane Richardson, he's going to do it again if he can stay on 2 wheels. Gets a little bit closer to Jay Lawrence as they head down into the Mars Pet Care turn once again down the visit wanganuinz.com straight and out onto the B&T Fuchs Lubricant Straight. That's probably the fastest part of the circuit here around this 1.06 kilometre circuit, just over a mile in the old language. Rees continues to lead, nothing Daniel Mehta can do about it. Then it's Lawrence, then it's Moyer, then we would go back to Hickman and also Horst Sager, and they're getting a little bit closer as well, so they're saving their better performances till later in the day. There is number 8, Scotty Moyer, currently sitting in 5th place. Ahead of him it is Jay Lawrence, there's Hickman, there's Sager, and there is 64, Adam Chambers. Well, Adam Chambers was a thorn in the side of this man in race number 1. They battled long and hard, and it was Chambers that came out on top. This time the positions have been reversed. You look into the visor of the fastest man around the 37-mile Isle of Man TT course, and that is Peter Hickman on the Carl Cox Motorsport BMW. Really has found something this weekend as he did last weekend. 2 wins from 2 starts at Manfield in round number 2, but starting to come good at the business end of the day here at Wanganui. Peter Hickman from the UK. Race leader is Wakatani's Tony Rees. In 2nd place it's Auckland's Dan Mettam, and Jay Lawrence sits up in 3rd place. So a good showing here for the Carl Cox Motorsport boys. The meat and the sandwich at the moment would be Scotty Moyer on the Carl Vandermeer Builders Suzuki New Zealand GSXR 1000. Then it's Hickman, then it's Sager, and then behind Horst Sager, Adam Chambers and Mitch Rees on the number 2. Finished 2nd in the NZSBK title chase last year, 3rd in the Suzuki Series. It's Dowd out in the front though, across the Suzuki crossing they go once again. Oh, and Mettam got very, very close to the curb that time. That was where we saw that nasty accident for Duncan Hart and the Super Motards. No accident this time round though for the race leaders in the F1. Rees in and out of the Robert Holden Memorial. Tony Rees was great friends with Robert Holden. Robert Holden using all his powers of persuasion and his reputation to get Tony some pretty important rides when he was doing his OE up in Europe in days gone by. 7 times the winner of the Robert Holden Memorial is Tony Rees. Can he do it again here at Wanganui? It would be something. He leads quite comfortably now from Mettam in 2nd place. Jay Lawrence getting a little bit closer in 3rd. In fact, looking for the pass as they head down Taupo Key. Can't quite get it done. Across the Suzuki crossing they go once again. This is a very good part of the circuit for Jay Lawrence. He's appreciably quicker than anyone else as he works under the Emmets pedestrian bridge and up into Robert Holden. Also getting racy, trying to drive down the inside of Scott Moyer is Peter Hickman. Can't do it for the moment. So Moyer repels the challenge of the Englishman. You're riding on board here, looking at the suspension work of the Carl Cox BMW of Peter Hickman as they work their way through the hooker transport curves out onto the Pirelli Bridge once more. Laps winding down in the 2nd and final Formula One race of the day. Still to come, the big feature here at Wanganui, and that will be the Robert Holden Memorial. It's the final lap of the F1s, and 34 Daniel Mettam is starting to scrap for his life now. He has a sneaky look behind, and Jay Lawrence is right there, and Lawrence has got a great drive coming out of the Mars Pet Care turn. It's not enough to make the pass stick, but he gets a little bit closer. This is the battle for 2nd and 3rd on your screen. Gone up the road is Tony Rees. The veteran's going to take this one. You're on board here with Peter Hickman. He's watching the battle unfold ahead of him between Jay Lawrence and Mettam. Lawrence has got good drive coming out of Robert Holden this time and passes Mettam. So Jay Lawrence goes up into 2nd place, a very sideways, and then pops it up into a wheelie there for Peter Hickman. Checkered flag comes out. Tony Rees all on his own. He wins the 2nd of the Formula One races. Great finish here coming from Peter Hickman, and I think he's picked the pocket of Dan Mettam, and he does. So Mettam goes back to 4th. Number 11, Tony Rees, is looking where the opposition is. They're a long way behind the veteran. He wins race number 2 here for the Suzuki-sponsored Formula One. In second place, it is Jay Lawrence. And in third place, was it going to be Daniel Medham? No, it wasn't, just by a wheel width. I think it was Peter Hickman on letter P. Behind him, Scott Moir and Horst Sager. So official results see Tony Rees get a good win from Jay Lawrence, Peter Hickman, Daniel Medham and Scott Moir.
I got past Dan on the first lap, got a good start, got past him, and then quick shift to work the whole race, putting another battery in the bike and just banged away. I rode as if they were right behind me, and yeah, it was a good old pace. I got a good lead at the end. I was actually quite surprised when I looked behind and they weren't there, so good to get a win for Honda.
Still to come here at the Cemetery Circuit, the second Formula 2 race and the Robert Holden Memorial. Welcome back to Wanganui. This is the third and final round of the Suzuki Series, and this is race number 2 for Formula 2. 22, Toby Summers. Alongside him, number 92, that is Damon Rees. Watch 2 for number 28, that is David Hall. He's been getting bullet starts from the second row, and he's done it again. He really gets a good launch as they head down into turn number 1, the Bridgestone Whites Power Sports corner. Oh, Toby Summers gets a little bit squealy under brakes, and he shows the air fence to David Hall. Well, David Hall's not going to be pleased with that. He rejoins at the very back of the field, and Toby Summers has thrown away a good start as well, passing them 3 abreast as they work their way into the Mars Pet Care turn. It's the 92, though, out on the front, and this is a man that's been so dominant on the 600 machine, the Formula 2 machine. Let out a little secret at the beginning of the day that he's actually riding with a broken collarbone and a broken bone in his foot, so pretty brave stuff coming up from Damo Rees. You're on board here with David Hall. Now, he will be riding angry because he's at the very back of the field at the moment after coming together with Toby Summers at turn number 1, the Bridgestone Whites Power Sports corner. Just working his way through the field. It'll be easy in the early going, but then it'll get harder and harder up over the Pirelli Bridge and down the Red Baron Straight. You're on board here with David Hall, passing them at will as he is very much the last of the late breakers into the Bridgestone Whites Power Sports corner. Meantime, at the front, Damon Rees making hay while the sun shines. A champion on the 600cc machine 2 seasons ago, set out last year with injury, but now back into it. You're on board here with Hall through the Suzuki crossing. He goes, heading up into the S's as the race leader turns it into the trade zone Robert Holden corner. That's the advantage that Damon Rees has at the moment. In second place, it looks like it might be Rogan Chandler on the Blue Crew Yamaha. Now, he was second in points going into this, the third and final round. And Mr. Super Motard, number 119, Richie Dibben, in third place on his brand new Suzuki GSX-R 600. Behind him, it looks to be number 7, and that is Ashton Hughes on the Triumph. And then number 23, by the look of it. And 96 in there. 23 is Jordan Burley. 96 is Sam Willisey, son of the promoter here in the Suzuki Series. So these guys are getting into it as well. There's another glimpse of Toby Summers. They're on board here with David Hall as he rounds up a few of the lesser lights, if you like, in the Formula 2. Formula 2 brought to you by Pirelli. Well, Damon Rees is just clearing away. We're riding with David Hall, and I mentioned he'd be riding angry. He would be, because he started dead last through Robert Holden. He goes, this is where, well, I guess he'd feel he was robbed after the first red flag in the first F2 race, robbed him of what he thought was going to be a certain victory, and the second flag came out, and that was because of David Hall. Rogan Chandler sitting in second place. You ride with him here, disappearing up the road in front of him. You just see the dot as he goes into the Mars Pet Care corner. That is Damo Rees. There is the 23 of Jordan Burley out of Hamilton on another one of the Triumph Daytonas. So he's currently sitting just inside the top 10. Toby Summers just in behind Ashton Hughes for the moment. So he's starting to make his way up into the top 5. Another one that would be riding angry because his race compromised as well. Goes down the inside of Hughes, or tries to. Hughes on the Triumph. Can't get it done there for the Carl Cox Motorsport Mad Love Media pilot, Toby Summers. So he'll have to find another place to pass. You're riding with him as they work through the Hooker Transport curves up onto the Pirelli Overbridge once again. Ashton Hughes was sitting in third place in the points going into this, the final round of the 3-round Suzuki Series. You're on board here with David Hall. That looked to be the 23 of Burley. He's just gone past, so Hall very much on the move as well. taking the outside line through Mars Pet Care and out onto the Fuchs B&T straight once again. Richie Dibben, Ashton Hughes, Toby Summers. The next one will be the nemesis of Toby Summers, and that should be the 28 of David Hall. You're on board here with Summers, trying to round up Hughes. Gets the job done. Can he get around his old sparring partner from the Super Motard days, Richie Dibben? Rounds up Hughes on the Triumph as they work their way into the Hooker Transport curves. Richie Dibben, the next target. There he is on the 119. Richie Dibben racing 2 classes here today, something that Toby Summers used to do back in the day in the Super Motards and also the 600cc machines. Here is Summers getting a little bit closer now to Richie Dibben. Lap 6 of 8, you're back on board here with the race leader. He has been the super dominant man in Pirelli Formula 2. He's won just about everything he started in, as I mentioned before, riding very much wounded with a broken collarbone and a broken bone in his foot. Certainly hasn't slowed him down any. Very, very fast in the 49s on the Carl Cox Honda. You're on board here with Toby Summers, trying to put the pass on his good mate Richie Dibben. He does it as they head down into Robert Holden, gets the job done. Dibben tries to come back at him, but hasn't got an answer to Summers on the Carl Cox Motorsport. Mad Love Media, R&R Power Sports, Kawasaki. This is Rogan Chandler, a lonely old race for Rogan out of Wellington in 2nd place. Second in points coming in, so this is a good points haul for the young charger from the Hut. We'll ride with him here as he works his way down into turn 1, the Bridgestone Whites Power Sports corner. This race still to be run here because Toby Summers up into 3rd place now. Then we go back to Dibben, then we go back, and he just got a glimpse there of the 28 of David Hall, so he's going to be in the mix as well as he tries to round up Ashton Hughes. On board here with Hall. Under the Emmets Bridge they go across the Suzuki crossing and now up into the versatile straight heading into Robert Holden, and Hall goes down the inside of Hughes, so he picks up another spot. So David Hall very much on the move, the man from Te Awamutu, balked at the very start of this race, so it's a comeback of sorts. Next man on the list would be Richie Dibben. The battle for 2nd and 3rd getting closer as well. Toby Summers looking to be all over Rogan Chandler. Rogan Chandler on the Yamaha R6, the 600cc machine, running here in Formula 2, guys. Round the outside as he works his way into the Mars Pet Care turn goes Toby Summers. Now he's up into 2nd place. But it is a long way away from first, and that's still being held by Damo Rees. David Hall goes past Rogan Chandler as well. Well, this will be interesting if these guys get together. The laps are running down here because David Hall had to start from dead last after he was shown the air fence by Toby Summers. That's Toby Summers ahead of him. This is the race leader though, number 92. Damon Rees going to put another win in the book here in Formula 2, brought to you by Pirelli. Down into turn 1 he goes once again. We ride with him here. Last lap board is out, the white flag is out, and Damo Rees making every post a winner as he heads on to Taupo Key, the B&T Fuchs Lubricant Straight, the last time in the Suzuki Series for Damon Rees. The Carl Cox Motorsport supported Tony Rees Motorcycles, Honda Riders Insurance, CBR 600. Rocketing through the S's and heading up into Robert Holden. A super dominant performance from this man. Been racing in Australia in the off-season with his older brother Mitch. You'll see Mitch out in the Robert Holden. You'll see Damon out in the Robert Holden as well. Now it gets interesting because Rogan Chandler's got back in front of David Hall, and just in front of Chandler is Toby Summers. And I think that will be the target for David Hall. If he can make the pass stick here, down the Hooker Transport curves, up the inside, pushing Rogan Chandler to the outside over the Pirelli Bridge. So now Hall is in 3rd place. David Hall in 3rd. Up ahead of him, it is Toby Summers and some lap traffic. But in the meantime, Damon Rees just heading towards another victory here at Wanganui. This will be interesting, and David Hall is closing down Toby Summers. So, man, if the red mist wasn't down before, it is now. And look at the closing speed of the 28. You're riding in the back of Toby Summers' Kawasaki, and Hall goes past as they go under the Emmets Bridge. Wow, this will be interesting. Can Toby Summers respond into Robert Holden for the last time? Hall from dead, stone, motherless last to 2nd place now. Toby Summers back in 3rd. Out in the front, Damo Rees. Checkered flag comes out for Rees. Who's it going to be next? Will it be David Hall or will it be Toby Summers? It'll be Toby Summers trying to chase down David Hall, but he's run out of real estate, and Hall will get 2nd. Summers will come across the line in 3rd place. Then it'll be Rogan Chandler in fourth. Behind him, Ashton Hughes, and then Richie Dibbin. This is where it all went wrong for David Hall. You're riding with Rogan Chandler, best seat in the house, as Summers and Hall get together. Here it is from Toby Summers' perspective. Just showed Hall the air feds in turn number 1. There it is looking out the back of Toby Summers' bike. And David Hall, as I said, started from dead motherless last and eventually finishes second. Damon Rees, though, there's no denying the man from Wakatani. He wins race number 2.
Put my head down when I had some clear track, and yeah, wrapped to come away with winning that race and winning the overall for the day plus the series. I try not to tell too many people, but yeah, broken collarbone and a cracked bone in my foot. So I had to deal with a bit of pain today, but it isn't too bad. I think the adrenaline sort of takes over once you get your helmet on, you know, so just dealt with it today. It's just going to hurt a little bit tonight and tomorrow.
So a dominant performance from Damon Rees. He wins the F2, brought to you by Pirelli. Still to come, the Robert Holden here at Wanganui. So welcome back to the Cemetery Circuit. This is the prestigious Robert Holden Memorial, brought to you by Wanganui Towing and Wanganui Auto Wreckers. 10 laps. The grid positions are decided on time, so that's why you'll see Horst Sager sitting up in the second row along with Peter Hickman. On pole position number 8 there, and that is Scotty Moyer just looking out behind him to number 34, Dan Metham. Watch 2 for 37, that is Jay Lawrence. He was the fastest qualifier in the F1 bikes. No Tony Rees, unfortunately Tony suffering from a migraine, but it is eldest son Mitch that looked to me to jump the start, but he's gone into the front. Second place is Scott Moyer. Right in behind him, it looks like Daniel Metham. So a Honda leading 2 Suzukis as they head out onto the B&T Fuchs Lubricant Straight for the first of 10 times. The Robert Holden Memorial. As I said, Tony Rees, the 7-time winner, not here in this one. He's got a migraine. Peter Hickman is, though, and Hickman has been going faster and faster and faster. Just up ahead of Hickman at the moment, it is Horst Sager, a title that has eluded the popular man from Liechtenstein. He had his pocket pinched in 2016 by Tony Rees and had to finish second. At the moment, though, it is Scott Moyer. He won this race last year. He won the Suzuki Series in Formula One. He's already wrapped up this because this is the individual standalone feature event. I see the blackboard being shown there, and I'm picking that'll be for Mitch Rees' jump start. We'll see what the officials say about that. You're on board here with Hickman, already starting to make his presence felt in this one. Good qualifying is the secret here at Wanganui. If you get to start off the second row instead of the third row, it makes all the difference. Number 8, Scotty Moyer in the front. Mitch Rees through in second place. Then we go back to 34, and that is Dan Metham. Then behind Metham, it would be the first of the Kawasaki's, and I think that's Adam Chambers. So once again, a great start for Adam. You're riding, looking at the back of Toby Summers, Carl Cox Motorsport Kawasaki, just as Damo Rees looked to cut up the Livio Zampiri. There is an individual prize for the first of the F2 bikes, the 600 bikes, and I'm sure that'll be fought out between Damon Rees, Toby Summers, and probably David Hall. Across the stripe they go once again. Number 2, Mitch Rees, still sitting in second place, but I think he's had the message from the officials. 34, Dan Metham in third. We track Mitch Rees through the Mars Pet Care turn. Oh, and he flirts with the hay bales there. Behind him, it is the 34 of Metham, also in the mix. Horst Sager, you see him there, bike number 8 on a Yamaha this season. And right in behind Horst, it would be the 64 of Adam Chambers on the Kawasaki. And then Peter Hickman. You're riding here with Peter Hickman. This is Jay Lawrence just up ahead of him on the Carl Cox Motorsport Suzuki. So Hickman with a little bit of work to do just yet, coming off a second row start, but in the mix as the laps continue to wind down here in the Robert Holden Memorial. Brought to you by Wanganui Towing. Robert Holden, the most winningest rider in the history of the Cemetery Circuit, sadly lost his life in 1996 at the Isle of Man. This is a battle for second and third on your screen. Daniel Metham, the last of the late breakers on the Coleman Suzuki, trying to go down the inside of Mitch Rees. Right in behind him, Horst Sager on the Yamaha. You're on board here with Metham. That's Mitch Rees slowing dramatically. I think he's going to pull the pin here. Mitch heading back to the pits as Metham goes past him. So Mitch Rees has called it a day in the Robert Holden. We didn't get to see his father start because of a migraine. But still a stellar field. 34, Daniel Metham. Number 11, Horst Sager. You ride with Jay Lawrence just up ahead of him. It is Peter Hickman, and there's Hickman down the inside through Robert Holden. So he moves up another spot. Next target for him would be Adam Chambers. There's Chambers on the 64. Horst Sager just up ahead of him. Over the Pirelli Bridge they come once again. Hickman follows them. Then we go back to Jay Lawrence. Horse Sager down the inside of Daniel Medham. Can he make the pass stick as they work their way into and out of the Bridgestone Whites Power Sports corner? So Horse Sager now moving up into second place, I think it is. Behind him, Daniel Medham, then it's Peter Hickman. Remember, out in front, it is Scott Moir. He's out by the proverbial country mile at the moment. Such is the advantage that he is showing. You're back on board here with Hickman. Once again, he comes up with his nemesis, and that is Adam Chambers. Chambers down the outside as they go through Robert Holden. Did Hickman make the pass stick? I don't see Chambers in the background. I'm not too sure if he did. We'll have a look as they get the wider shot. He did, so Hickman moves up. Now Chambers got all he can contend with Jay Lawrence. Best of the 600s is the 28 of David Hall. Then it's the 22 of Toby Summers. You're on board here with Peter Hickman. Ahead of him, it is Daniel Medham. This is the battle for third and fourth. Ahead of Medham, it is Horse Sager. Sager having his best performance here in the 2018 Suzuki Series at Wanganui, a circuit he absolutely loves. Now, just a reminder, this is a battle for second, third and fourth. Way up the road, and I mean way up the road, is Scott Moir. And I can tell you that he has already smashed the lap record here at the Cemetery Circuit with a 48.709, and that was in the early going. So that is the new lap record, and the old one has stood for quite some time. So the pace is absolutely red hot as they close up once again. Wanganui Towing and Wanganui Auto Wreckers bring you the Robert Holden Memorial here in 2018. They work their way over the Pirelli Bridge once again. Hickman trying to look down the outside as they come into turn number one. Can he get the pass done? Yes, he can. Goes to the brakes just fractionally later on the Carl Cox BMW. Holds it in tight. I thought he was going to run it wide there for a little while, and that would have allowed Medham to capitalise and come up the inside. Couldn't do it, so Peter Hickman moves up into third place now. It's the Internationals in second and third. It's a Kiwi out in the front. It's the man that is the back-to-back Suzuki Series champion, and that is Scott Moir. But this is where all the action is at the moment. Second, third, fourth and fifth, because they're all in it. Look at Hickman getting racy, trying to look down the inside of Horse Sager as they work their way through the Robert Holden turn once again. Now, while these two are battling, that's going to bring Daniel Medham back to this group, I would think. And Adam Chambers is the danger man at the moment, because he is lurking just off the back of Daniel Medham on that Kawasaki. And Adam's been fast on the ZX10. You're back on board here with the BMW of Peter Hickman. Down into turn one they go once again. The Bridgestone Whites Power Sports first turn here at Wanganui. The visit wanganui.com short shoot and out onto Taupo Key. There is the race leader. Haven't seen him for quite some time, but he is still cranking out very, very fast laps. That is Scotty Moir out of Taupo. Then it is Sager. Then it is Hickman. Hickman has really got the race face on now as he puts the acid on Horse Sager as they work their way through the S's once again. Hickman looks down the inside through Robert Holden. This is where Tony Rees picked the pocket of Horse Sager in 2016 to claim the Robert Holden Memorial, and this is where Peter Hickman goes through into second place. Now, with laps to run, he's a long way ahead, but there's one thing about Peter Hickman is there is no give up in the man. He can probably see just Scott Moir up ahead of him. So Hickman up into second place now. Sager goes back into third. Then we go back to Daniel Medham. Then it's Adam Chambers. And then it would be Jay Lawrence. That's the order as they head out onto Taupo Key once again. A little bit extra time in the Holden Memorial because it's 10 laps, not the 8 they've been doing. And that means there's plenty of racing still to come. And what racing there is for the mine is Adam Chambers all over the back of Dan Medham. This is the race leader, though. He's out all on his own. He's the fastest man on the circuit. He's the fastest man in the history of the Cemetery Circuit. He's done a 48.7. I can tell you that Hickman's close with a 48.9, his best for the moment. And then behind him, it's Horse Sager, right on the money as well. 34 is Dan Medham. Then it's the 64 of Adam Chambers. Behind him, Jay Lawrence. And in the first of the 600s, we might get a glimpse of him in this shot, and that will be David Hall. He's been the standout in the last race of the Formula 2s, the 600s, and here at the Robert Holden Memorial. Brought to you by Wanganui Towing and Wanganui Auto Wreckers. This is the best of the field. Number 8, the Suzuki New Zealand, Carl Vandermeer Builders. Suzuki GSXR 1000 of Scotty Moir. He's already wrapped up the Suzuki Series in F1 to go back-to-back here in the Suzuki Series, and now Hickman is right on him. Now what has happened here? Has Scott Moir decided that he's got this in the bag, and is he celebrating a little bit too soon? Peter Hickman is right on the man from Taupo, the Englishman on the BMW, the Carl Cox Motorsport BMW, as close as you like as they come down over the Pirelli overbridge, and Hickman hits the front, and the checkered flag is coming out, and Peter Hickman wins the Robert Robert Holden Memorial. Scott Moir caught sleeping a little bit in the last couple of laps. I said that Hickman had no give up in him, and he has taken the title. Only the second international to do so. The only other man to take the Robert Holden Memorial, not a New Zealander, was Dan Stauffer from Australia. Peter Hickman can write his name into the record books as well. Well, we saw glimpses of the speed that makes him the fastest man around the Isle of Man at Manfield when he took 2 wins from 2 starts. And here he has come good in the most prestigious race of the day, and that is the Robert Holden Memorial. There's the victory burnout for the Carl Cox BMW. Peter Hickman, what a day, what a race. The Englishman takes the accolades here at Wanganui. So Peter Hickman wins the Wanganui Towing and Wanganui Auto Wreckers Robert Holden Memorial for 2018 from Scott Moir.
And obviously we were fast in race 2. I nearly got the lap record, and then and nearly again in the Robert Holden, but obviously Scotty went a bit faster, and I was gifted the final kind of win really. Scotty rolled off a bit too much. He obviously thought he got he had a 2-second gap I think going on to the last lap, so but he just rolled off way too much, and I was close enough to have a little go, so I thought, sod it, I'll have a go.
Did you know Peter was coming in the Robert Holden?
Well, 2 laps to go. My lap board said 4 seconds, which was about right, and then I probably just slowed down maybe a little bit too much in that lap, and then I guess the last lap I probably only had a couple of seconds, and I thought I had a pretty good lead, so I decided to start celebrating, but I'm obviously celebrated too soon. Yeah, so I mean, it is what it is. I set a new lap record. I convincingly pulled away from them, so I mean, hey, it was just one of those things, you know. You learn from your mistakes.
Yeah, just at the start of the lap, like I say, it was at least a second and a half, if not 2 seconds in front, and I thought it's probably a bit too far, but I thought I'll just keep my head down. As long as I keep my head down, then who knows where we're going to end up. And to be honest, with coming out of the second to last corner, I thought he's probably a bit too far in front, but then he just rolled a bit too early for that corner. I thought, all right, I'll just have a go then. I just carried the speed that I had already, and managed to surprise him going in and actually hold him, I think, a little bit, so he couldn't tuck back underneath me. And yeah, here we are with a win. So massive thanks to the Carl Cox Motorsport team. The little BMW, she might be old, but she's still going well, and yeah, it's been a real good fun. You know, this whole kind of Suzuki series has been a right good laugh, and I really enjoyed myself.
You know, we've seen internationals come here and struggle a little bit, have a good time, you know, but you know, Pete's a bit of an anomaly. You know, he has proven himself, you know, to be one of the fastest riders we're ever going to see on more or less anything, because the bike he's riding it's not a works bike in any way, shape or form. It has been a race bike in the past, and it has race components on it, but it's not the best of the best. So he was basically riding on something of which he worked himself into, but was comfortable enough to know what he could do with it once he had it, and basically he proved himself very worthy of his titles.
That last pass was exciting, eh?
I'm still shocked by the last pass. I wasn't expecting to see that, you know. I mean, the thing is, there's something to be said about, you know, it's not over until it's over. And Pete certainly rode like that's what it was, because, I mean, there was obviously a situation that happened with Scotty Moy, and I wasn't sure what that was at the end of the day. But if you're a racer, you still go for it. Doesn't matter what the pit board says. You know yourself. You've got to just keep going, and that's how you win races. You keep going to the very end, and you know, not taken away from Scotty Moy or any of the team or anything else like that. But Pete rode like a champion today, and he deserved to get the coveted prize.
Well, it never fails to deliver. There's the Robert Holden Memorial. There's Robert's mother handing the very prestigious trophy to Peter Hickman. He's proved to us that he is the real deal. He wins the Robert Holden from Scott Moir and Horst Sager. Fantastic racing, as always, in the third and final round of the Suzuki Series here at the Cemetery Circuit. The Robert Holden always throws up something pretty special, and we've seen something pretty special here in Peter Hickman. Peter Hickman and his team will head back to the Northern Hemisphere, while the best in New Zealand will get ready for the New Zealand Superbike Road Racing Championships happening in just a couple of days. From us here at Wanganui, thanks for watching. We'll see you next year.